So he didn't ask you what ability we had in the area and what we could do?
No, I mean, he relied on both myself as secretary and on General Dempsey's capabilities. He knows generally what we've deployed into the region. We've presented that to him in other briefings, so he knew generally what was deployed out there. But as to specifics about time, et cetera, no, he just left that up to us.
Did you have any further communications with him that night?
No.
Did you have any other further communications? Did he ever call you that night to say, how are things going? What's going on? Where's the consulate?
No, but we were aware that as we were getting information on what was taking place there, particularly when we got information that the ambassador, his life had been lost, we were aware that that information went to the White House.
Did you communicate with anyone else at the White House that night?
No.
No one else called you to say, how are things going?
No.
Okay. And since then, has the president asked you, why weren't we able to get, in light of the second attack that occurred 7 hours later, armed assets there in order to help those who were left and attacked in the annex?
The president has made very clear to both myself and General Dempsey that with regards to future threats, we have got to be able to deploy forces in a position where we can more rapidly respond.
But just to be clear, that night he didn't ask you what assets we had available and how quickly they could respond and what we could do to help those individuals there.
I think the biggest problem that night, Senator, was that nobody knew really what was going on there.
And there was no follow-up during the night, at least from the White House directly?
No, there wasn't.
I would,
Thank you.
if I could just...
Were there any AC-130 gunships within 1,000 miles of Benghazi, Libya?
No, sir.
Were there any AC-130 gunships within 2,000 miles of Benghazi, Libya?
I have to go back and look at a map and figure out the distance. The nearest ones I were aware of were...
You said the F-16 was not a good platform to defend the consulate. What would have been the appropriate platform?
The appropriate platform, Senator, would have been to have boots on the ground ahead of the event. After the event is in conduct, it would be very difficult.
Let's just, I mean, would an AC-130 been a good platform to help defend the consulate after the attack?
If we had the adequate understanding of what was on the ground so that we weren't killing anyone.
Is there a saying in the military, when you go into harm's way, we've got your back?
Of course, yes, sir.
Don't you think that saying has been undermined here? That how can people in the military, the Foreign Service, believe we've got their back when after over did you know how long the attack was going to last, Secretary Panetta?
No idea.
Well, it could have lasted for 2 days. Now, my question is, was one airplane anywhere in the world deployed in the aid of the consulate? Did anybody launch an airplane? Was any airplane launched anywhere in the world to help these people?
Well, we ultimately did launch 130s to go in and rescue the people.
When were they launched?
They were launched in the period of time when the team went in there, and when we concluded, the attack was concluded, we said we've got to get the people out of there, and that's when we...
Was any airplane launched anywhere in the world before the attack was concluded?
If you're talking about a strike aircraft, no, Senator.
Okay. Was any soldier en route to help these people before the attack was concluded?
Well, we had deployed these fast teams, and they were on orders to move.
Was anybody in motion before the attack concluded to help these people? Anybody?
Only the personnel that were in Tripoli.
Okay. Was any DOD asset ever deployed to help these people before the end of the attack?
Would you rephrase?
Was any DOD asset, aircraft or individual soldier, ever put in motion to help these people before the attack was over?
If I could, as soon as we knew there was an attack, the National Mission Force and the fast teams began
My
preparing
question
to
is, did anybody leave any base anywhere to go to the aid of the people under attack in Benghazi, Libya, before the attack ended?
No, because the attack ended before they could get off the ground.
Okay, and we didn't know how long it would last. Talk about the State Department. General Dempsey, seems to me that General Ham kept you pretty well informed.
I agree with that.
I agree with that, too. And did General Ham on that night ever suggest that a military asset, did he order a military asset in motion and someone told him to stand down?
No. In fact, he was with us in the Pentagon.
Okay, so he was with you. Now, you knew about the cable from Ambassador Stevens because General Ham informed you of it. Is that correct, General Dempsey?
In a written weekly report.
Okay. So when Secretary Clinton testified a few weeks ago that she had a clear-eyed assessment of the threat we faced in Libya, is that really a credible statement if she didn't know about the ambassador's cable on August the 15th saying we can't defend this place?
Well, I don't know that she didn't know about the cable.
She said she didn't.
Then that's a...
Are you stunned that she didn't?
I would call myself surprised that she didn't.
Okay.
In between 9:42 p.m. Benghazi time, when the first attack started, and 5:15 a.m., when Mr. Dougherty and Mr. Woods lost their lives, what conversations did either of you have with Secretary Clinton?
We did not have any conversations with Secretary Clinton.
So, and General Dempsey, the same is true for you.
General Dempsey, as to how the available threat estimates you were informed by, how our military was appropriately responsive. 7 people, since 4 people died 7 hours later, with the hundreds of airplanes, ships, planes, and men and women who are serving available in that part of the world, and how did you do what your posture and capabilities allowed?
Thank you, Senator. Let me begin by saying I stand by my testimony, your dispute of it notwithstanding. But I would like to say that
perhaps you can give me some facts that would
Sure,
substantiate it.
I will, Senator. We base our response on the combined effects of what we get from the intelligence community, and that's the network of intel agencies, as well, importantly, based on what we get from the State Department and the Chief of Mission and Chief of Station in the country.
Did you ever get the message that said they could not withstand a sustained attack on the consulate?
I was tracking that intelligence. I was tracking through General
Did you receive that information?
I did, and I saw it.
So it didn't bother you?
It bothered me a great deal, but
why
we never
didn't you
received
put forces in place to be ready to respond?
Because we never received a request to do so, number one, and number two,
you never heard of Ambassador Stevens' repeated warnings about the lack of security?
I had through General Ham, but we never received a request for support from the State Department, which would have allowed us to put forces
on the ground. So it's the State Department's fault.
I'm not blaming the State Department. I'm sure they had their own assessment.
Who would you blame?
Sorry, sir?
Who is responsible then? It was clear that an assessment was made that they could not withstand a sustained attack on the consulate, with it being September 11th and many other indications that are on that board over there of various attacks that have already taken place.
Mm-hmm. I stand by the report of the Accountability Review Board, but I would also say, Senator, I was also concerned at that time with Sana'a in Yemen, Khartoum, Islamabad, Peshawar, Kabul, Baghdad. We had some pretty significant intel threat streams.